Super Bowl Tuesday. The season is finally ending Sunday. I'm here with my great friends, Ted Sobel from Sports USA and Ron from Ron A Sports. How are you guys doing this week?
I'm doing super. It's about time. I knew we'd get here eventually, Chris. It should be a hell of a matchup.
Yeah, winding down, I kind of always look forward to this week because then I know that there's a break between seasons. In order to go full bore in the NFL and to get ready in August and in July and the season, there's downtime needed. And that downtime is starting now and it's going to continue.
Yep.
So, are you guys excited about this game?
Well, I am. You know, we did our one of Ron's shows yesterday for his exit reviews. We did the Raiders, and boy, Chris, did you watch it? You're shaking your head.
No, I mean, he wanted to do an exit video on the Lions. How can you have an exit video when everything is just getting started with them?
Well, that's the real truth with the Raiders too. Of course, we have no idea what they're going to be like next year. But one of the things I mentioned during the show was that it's such an interesting Super Bowl matchup. I just wish I knew exactly how healthy the quarterbacks were. I mean, that could be a major factor here, and we have no idea.
Yeah, for me, it's more of a question of the health of the Kansas City receivers. We don't know the rotation. Yep. We don't know how that's going to go in, who's going to get how many snaps and how healthy that is. And we have some issues from both sides. From the Philadelphia side, have they really seen a quarterback like Pat Mahomes? Have they really seen a fast speed power rush that like Kansas City brings to them? And obviously from Kansas City's side, they haven't seen as many mobile quarterbacks as Jalen Hurts, and they haven't been tasked with having to stop the run to the extent that they don't want Mahomes to be sitting on the sideline twiddling his thumbs. They want him in the game getting in rhythm.
Yeah, I think the real key at the start here is Philadelphia is the one team that cannot afford to fall too far behind. Kansas City's so explosive, whoever their receivers are, because Mahomes just does stuff. But if Philadelphia falls behind, that's going to be interesting to see what they're able to do to maneuver their way out of a hole.
I think it is definitely harder for them to come back.
Yep.
It seems like this is on the average the two worst teams to be in a Super Bowl in a long time. I just don't think either of these teams can be considered an elite team in the least, and they're both average, obviously, with the 1 and 2 point spread. So
I totally disagree with you, and I mean totally disagree. I think Philadelphia is definitely elite. Philadelphia was 13-1 at one time, and you say, who did they beat? You got to beat somebody to get to 13-1 or whatever it was. And
they beat Helen Keller's School for the Blind, the Giants, and then they beat the I don't know who the hell they beat that last week. Did they even show a quarterback?
The 49ers. It was a situation where, it fell into their lap the way the injuries happened. But bottom line to me with Philadelphia, they have an elite O-line and an elite defense. And that, I don't care. The rest of their team can be whatever you think it is, but they are where they deserve to be. And the NFC was what it was. I mean, we're going to say somebody had to represent the NFC. Who else was more elite than them?
Let me walk back that question a little bit because I side more on Chris's thing here. Based on power ratings, typically at the end of the year, we'll have a couple of teams for me that have power ratings in the 34, 30, 35 range, 33.5 range. There's no question there were 5 really good teams this year: Buffalo, Philadelphia, San Francisco, Kansas City, Cincinnati. None of those teams had more than a 32 power rating going into the playoffs or coming out of the playoffs. 32 was the highest. So based on that, based on numbers I've done for 20, 30 years, there's really no elite team. There's 5 very, very good teams.
Well, we have different definitions of elite. And I know exactly what you're saying, and I agree with you. But this is the elite of this season. And
Yeah,
we can't go on any other seasons. I mean, this is what they are this season. These are the best teams left.
So
They're
that's
not
like going to
Tennessee.
Denny's and getting the best steak they have.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. And how often do you get your two best numbers that are playing against each other in the Super Bowl, truthfully?
Not
No,
often.
you had Tennessee last year as a fake number 1 seed. They
Exactly.
were the 12th or
So,
14th best team or something like that. So we don't have a Tennessee in the mix. We do have certainly two of the top 5 teams, if not the 2 best teams this year.
that's all you can ask for.
But if you compare them to other years, their numbers show that both teams have issues if you compare them to the top teams.
All 5 of those
years.
Elite teams have issues.
Yeah.
And
so that's
no
what we're
doubt
dealing with.
No, right. But it still is two as good a teams to meet under the circumstances this season. And it is this season. If we're not talking about any other season. So I think it's elite for this season, and that's all that matters.
I think it can be an interesting game. At least I think these teams are both flawed. The way that I see this game, I don't have a wager on it yet. I think Kansas City will continue to get bet gradually, and my metrics favor the Eagles by 1.5 and by 2.5. And I don't really want to play them because that's within the margin of error, so it wouldn't normally be a play during the regular season. But when you factor in the injury situation with Kansas City, and I guess I lean Philadelphia anyway, just because when you compare these two teams, Philadelphia's got the better defense. I mean, if one of these two teams is going to make a stop, I'd rather have the Eagles defense. What about you guys?
I agree with that. And it's also Philadelphia against, as we talked about at the Open, who knows what kind of condition the receivers are for Kansas City.
Yeah.
Who's going to play and how much can they play and be totally effective. And that goes for their quarterback. I'm assuming Mahomes, it's 2 weeks later. It's still a high ankle sprain. It could take one little play in this game and he could be hurting the rest of the day. So you don't know what the hell's going to happen there. And so I think that matchup definitely favors Philadelphia because their defense is outstanding. And the other matchup is their O-line against the Kansas City rush. And I love everything about Philly's O-line. And just look at the stats. When their best guys are in there, they are almost unbeatable.
So for me, I agree with Chris. The metrics, the power ratings the matchups lean a little bit more Philadelphia. A little bit better in terms of their special team play. A lot better in terms of the way they've handled the pass and the run defensively. The offensive line, I'd say pretty damn close as far as what they bring. Mahomes, obviously, he could throw off any platform and so on. Challenges for the Kansas City run defense, challenge for Philadelphia to deal with Mahomes. The issue I will take, and I think this is underrated, and I understand about Philly's pass rush and Philly's offensive line, but I think we're disrespecting Kansas City's pass rush, which in their own right was a top 5 sacking team. I think they bring a lot of speed to the table, and I'm not sure, based on what Philly has faced during the year, that they have gone against a Frank Clark or gone against the other guys that go in there. I think if I'm in Kansas City's locker room, I'm saying all they're talking about is Philly's pass rush. All you're talking about is Philly's pass rush. What about you guys? You guys can get to Hurts. Hurts can be sacked. Hurts has had 2 full years of experience. Mahomes has had 5. That variable to me swings a little bit in Kansas City's favor.
And I agree with you, but I also say that the O-line difference there for Philadelphia, and I'll just keep going back to them. This is a very special line. That's the reason they're there. And remember I called you, Ron, after the last week's games were done, and I said, what's the opening line that you see? And and I said, I only do this in my head, so I don't do what you guys do, metrics and numbers. It's all off the top of my head. Exactly. But I'm always close, aren't I, Ron, over the last 30 years? And I said,
you're close. You're close.
And I said,
miss one or two.
Yeah, and I said Philly -2 in my head, and you said it was 1.5, I think, at the time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's right there. So anyway, bottom line is Philly deserves to be the favorite, whether, they play it That's why you play the game.
Chris, I have a
Now,
question for you.
Just so that it's open, I'm going to pick Philadelphia, and I may end up putting a very small little token wager on it, but I'm more excited about my Super Bowl squares. I do lean toward the under for some reason.
So, Chris, I have a question for you, or for both of you. I think the public narrative is that it's Andy Reid against Nick Sirianni. Do you think that's going to play in the closing point spread? Is that you're going to see quote unquote Andy Reid money?
No, I think you see Pat Mahomes money.
Well, either way, yeah.
Same money. No, and that makes a lot of sense.
And I don't think anybody wants to get behind either of these coaches. I think Reid is considered kind of old fashioned. He doesn't manage time well. He hasn't fully evolved. So
I disagree.
His in-game management is an asset, I don't think. Do you?
Yeah, I completely disagree. I think Reid did evolve, whereas Ted knows some coaches like Jeff Fisher. Who
I didn't think you were going to mention him.
Yeah, 2-8 in the whatever XFL, USFL, or whatever. He retired himself from the run, pass, punt. Days of John Fox and Jeff Fisher. And I think Andy Reid recognized the need for speed far beyond what other new coaches did. And that's why Kansas City's built totally on speed. And they adapted this year too. Remember, Mahomes threw downfield repeatedly with Tyreek Hill. He had to adapt his game plan, adjust his game plan, and they still scored a lot of points.
Chris, I don't know what games you're watching over the last several years, but Andy Reid has definitely evolved. Andy Reid is a better coach than he ever was. You can shake your head all you want. Just don't let it fall off your neck. That's the most that you can't finish the show. But Andy Reid is a much better coach now than he was at Philadelphia. And he was a good offensive coach then, but he had clock issues and some other game management stuff. And they're not quite the same as they used to be. And
no, that's what I was saying. I mean, I respect him as a coach. He's a great coach. I just think in game he has his slip ups. So,
well, we disagree.
I'll have my staff alphabetically, numerically send you the War and Peace edition of all his foul ups.
But they all screw up. When you lose, those foul ups always they're accentuated. What can I say?
All right, so I'm the only one that says they're going to have any money on this game, and I'm only going to have like a little taste of maybe some Philly and maybe some under. You're not going to have any straight action, either of you two guys, right? What about the props?
Well, what about, are you going to wait late though to see for that Kansas City money to drop it to 1 or whatever, and then just do whatever you need to do then, right?
Yeah, I'm really disinterested in the Eagles unless I get a pick or a +1, which I feel that I will get.
+1, wow. Yeah, that'd be asking for a lot, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think it could dip down to pick, and maybe you'll see some rebuys on Philly at that point for some of the people that look at the matchup analysis and not look at these extraneous factors. It's just that kind of game. It's a chess match, and we'll see how it plays out.
And the money line usually won't adjust with the drop of the line itself, right? So you're never going to get the quality out of that, even if it's last minute stuff.
No, but that's what kind of sucks with this. Traditionally, these Super Bowls have off-kiltered money lines you can take advantage of.
Right.
Because a lot of people don't like to deal with point spread. So not this year.
Yep.
Yeah, this year it's still basically pick the winner of the game. But as I've said on other shows, as you guys know, numbers 1 and number 2 can come into play a little bit more. If you look at the factors of who goes for it and who doesn't go for it, Philadelphia, if you believe what happened during the 2022 season, they're going to go for it a little bit more when they're at Kansas City's 40, when they're at Kansas City's 43-yard line, where they may not kick a field goal on 4th and 3 from the 35, but maybe Kansas City would kick that field goal from 4th and 3. Maybe Philadelphia goes for a 2-point conversion to try to win the game at the end of the game.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. By the way, how about the number that I see very few people talking about? Jalen Hurts is 16-1. I don't care how many Sisters of the Poor he played this year. 16-1 as a starter this season, including the playoffs. I mean, come on. You can't take that away from him. Again, not all elite teams, But how many elite teams are? You guys don't even call this an elite Super Bowl. So it's not his fault. You got to beat who you got to beat. He's got to play better than the last game, though.
It just seemed like they never finished out the games. It kind of slowed down in the second halves.
Well, the other question is how hurt is Jalen Hurts? Because he didn't look like himself against San Francisco. He got by. He did enough, but he didn't do he wasn't like himself. And I don't know how much of that is injury or it was the plan, or I have no idea. He's got to play better. He's must play better in this game. And, I think it's all about the Philly run game, getting things going for their offense. And that has got to be established throughout. And it's their O-line that does it.
Well, the great thing about a three-way conversation is that we can have differences. So I'm gonna take the other side than what you said on that one, Ted. San Francisco's defense, their game plan was perfect against Hurts.
Oh, and I wasn't taking anything away from San Francisco defense. It's the best in the league.
But that's why Hurts didn't look good. But he still ran design runs. He still ran something like 9 times in the first half. He just didn't have to run in the second half because the game became a scrimmage. The game became August 1st. Let's get out of here, and we don't even need to take a shower because San Francisco's playing without a quarterback.
Right. Now, you couldn't judge his stats on a normal game the way the game went. I mean, as soon as Purdy got hurt, it was like whatever. You throw everything out the window, numbers will mean nothing. I'm not even talking about that game as much as how he looked and how at the previous game. Their run game has got to be totally established to beat this team, to get Jalen Hurts to be at his best. You can't just rely on his arm.
What's
Ron, what props are you looking at this time of the week? Just to let whoever's watching know, I'm not doing a single thing until Saturday night, Sunday morning. I just don't care. I'm focusing more on the alternate lines and trying to find ways that I can get free numbers or free earns and moving them in against each other. And those types of lines become better the day of. What about you, Ron? What do you find with the props that you focus on?
Well, I'm more into the player props and situational props in terms of number of carries, in terms of, what one team will do another, in terms of how many pass attempts and that kind of thing. In the Super Bowl, it's a whole different game in terms of looking for value. Ted knows this because he's seen my sheets for years and years and years. In the past, especially when Super Bowl props came out later, less, not just California, but all states were not involved in sports betting. You would get wildly different opening lines, and you would get soft opening lines because books weren't used to putting out 20 props, much less 420 props. And my sheet would have 15-point differences on wide receivers, 1 point, one catch different, the difference between catching 4.5 and 5.5 catches, wildly different numbers in terms of sacks, yards, and so on. It's changed a little bit, but it's still about creating free market value, free money. Chris, you do it via the alternate lines, catching glitches from one book to the other. I do it via the juice that's offered. Alternate lines come into play even with player props. How many touchdown passes will Hurts throw? In one place, it might be 3.5 touchdown passes plus 800. In another place, it might be plus 450 minus 700. So if you're minus 700 in one place and plus 800 in another place, you got some money that's going to be attached to you. Other than that, Chris, it used to be easy to put about 40% of my action in right away when the numbers came out, because you know exactly which way some of these numbers are going to go, because people are going to bet numbers up, a lot of the overs up. But the numbers with more sophisticated prop bettors and more markets and so on, they really get filtered into the right spot 2 or 3 days. No, I shouldn't even say 2 or 3 days. Within 24 hours, you're missing some of the value. So my initial props were probably about 25% of my whole portfolio came out right away. And then when they introduced new markets like head-to-heads, when they first come out, I put in another 5 or 10 props. When they introduced the cross-sport props, I put in another market 5 to 10 props. And then you wait. until you get to the Saturday and Sunday. And then you see all the differences because the books have liability.
Well, I got a prop question for you, which we didn't discuss any of this beforehand. What's A.J. Brown on catches and yards? Because I think he's going to have a big game.
About 5.5. It's been 5.5 roughly at plus 105, even money. Yards about 71.5.
Okay, because I obviously prefer the 5 instead of the 5.5.
Yeah, you're going to be juiced. There's one spot. There's 2 spots that have 4.5 minus 160.
Wow.
So you're going to have to put up 160 for every 100 to say that he's going to get 5. So you got to do your return on investment. If you think that he's going to catch 5 or more
Both ways. 8
times, then you've got value. If you think he's going to catch 5 or more 6 times, then you're going to lose money, because 6 out of 4 is a plus 150, minus 150, minus 160 is what you're laying. You're giving away money.
So, the guys on VSiN were arguing and really liked the app, the prop under 4.5 rushers for Kansas City.
Well, I heard that Edwards-Helaire might be activated for this game.
I heard that too. I heard that this morning.
And to me, that changes the equation, because all he needs is one carry.
Exactly.
So be careful with that one.
Yeah.
So give us a good prop. Come on. People are waiting.
Yeah. What are your favorites? What are you leaning towards big time this week?
Okay, so I said this already. Gainwell is somebody very interesting to me because he has a high yards per rush number. B, he's done well the last 2 or 3 games. C, Sanders is not overused for Philadelphia. D, Philadelphia is more of a running team versus Kansas City, more of a passing team. So I took Gainwell plus 1 yard rushing against McKinnon in a head-to-head, and I took Gainwell over his number, which opened, actually, it's pretty much the same. Opened up around 18.5, it's 19.5. So you're pretty much dealing with the same number when it opened. I didn't, there's some that are out of range now that I have that are really good value. You don't know if they're going to win. Ted, you and I have had great value in the in years, and they don't win. But
right, exactly.
This one pretty much stays the same. I just have a feeling Gainwell needs only 5 carries to get 18.5, 19 yards. I also bet him over 4.5 carries.
I like it. What else?
Ted, didn't you run into Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah. I thought we were going to get that.
I predict Aaron Rodgers will go under in this game.
I just want to get a few more gems out of Ron here, these prop plays. He must have 10,000 of them.
Just 3 more, Ron.
3 more. Okay.
3 more guaranteed winners, but
I don't have, there is no such thing as a guaranteed lock. So I'm going to look at my sheets here.
Who needs you?
Yeah. I have to give you some unders because I really don't like doing the overs and stuff like that.
That's underwhelming.
So, yeah. So Zach Pascal, his over-under is 5.5 yards receiving. And I went under on that one because, hey, I don't even know if he'll get, you have to go to a book that claims that all he has to do is play. Some books say if you don't get a target, the play is null and void. So you play Zach Pascal at a place where all he has to do is be in the game for 1 snap.
Oh, okay.
So that's what I would do. There's some interesting ones. Let's see. The tight end, Goddard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have him going over his 4.5 at minus 105. That's a speculative play because it's been juiced up since then. But also have him against McKinnon.
Okay. And I mentioned A.J. Brown earlier. I like whoever is on the receiving end of a Jalen Hurts pass against that Kansas City young secondary, the youngest in the history of the Super Bowl. It's not even close. So, that could be a factor in this game. I just say move it all around. What kind of numbers are there from an overall receiving standpoint on Philadelphia's side against that young secondary?
I'll give you one that I think is worth looking into, because if you looked at the game plan against San Francisco, Jalen Hurts threw the ball deep 6 times. all in the first half because he didn't need to.
Right.
Now, only one of those hit, and even that turned out to be an incompletion, but it was called a completion. But I like the way he stretched the field. Not a touchdown pass, but the longest completion for Jalen Hurts is listed at 36.5 and 37.5. So if you think there's going to be one of those long throws that connects against Kansas City, committing a lot of people to the run, then that's what I would look at is Jalen Hurts, a long completion over 36 or 37.
And I assume that's a normal juice play.
Normal juice minus 115. It doesn't move. It's not going to move just because I recommend it or not recommend it. It's just a standard play in a warm weather game.
Okay, good. Well, we got our locks there, Chris.
Okay. We can. Hey, you can see how excited I am about this game. Unfortunately.
Sorry to wake you. Yes. Well, you mentioned Aaron Rodgers. I was at Pebble Beach covering the golf tournament over the weekend, and guess who won the Pro-Am? Aaron effing Rodgers. Unbelievable. He's hardly ever made the cut, and he won the whole thing. And he played one round of practice round the Monday before last week. So good for him. But I got the latest out of his mouth on where he stands. He wouldn't break any huge news with me, but I got what I could. I tried to squeeze. It's a couple of minutes, just play the whole thing. And this is after, by the way, Josh Allen, who I also spoke to, and you can hear all the interviews on one report that I have over at Sports USA. Well, that's actually not there. Go to my Twitter page at Ted Sobel Sports, click on it, and you can hear it's like 17-minute report, along with the ex-Laker Pau Gasol. We talk a little bit about the Super Bowl too, but let's hear exactly what Mr. Rodgers had to say. You do it just playing one round. You said played Monday at Sherwood, and that was it?
I played 9 holes at Cypress as well. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think I shot in the high 40s at Cypress. So
there goes practice, right? How important is that?
Listen, honestly, the more I got really good about 7-8 years ago, and then I was playing a bunch, and I realized I'm not going to do anything with this. I mean, people always say, "Oh, you're done playing, you're going to play in a championship." No, that doesn't happen. These guys are so damn good out here, and they've got the 10,000 plus hours to become masters of this stuff. I don't. I'm a field player. So if it feels good on certain days, I'm going to play pretty good. If it doesn't, I'm going to shoot in the high 80s like I did today at Pebble. But luckily, my partner came through for me.
Okay, so is it a little weird this time not knowing what the future is, or maybe you do know somewhere deep inside? Now, what can you tell? I'm not looking for breaking news, but if you want to give it.
No, I mean, listen, I think you always got to get away mentally and reset. And for me, it's more than just mental. It's where I'm at physically, spiritually, emotionally. And I just, I want to take some time to make the right decisions best for me. I still haven't really gotten to that decision yet. I've done a lot of contemplating on different things, but this week was about having fun with some really dear friends of mine. And next week and the preceding weeks will be about trying to figure out my future.
Yeah, but is there a part of your heart, though, that says it's going to be hard if I'm not in Green Bay? Because you've said in the past you would love to finish your career there, and now who knows?
Well, I think we all knew when they chose a quarterback in the first round that was kind of putting me on the clock. I staved that back a little bit by winning MVP a couple of years.
Just minor stuff.
But I've been playing ball for 25 straight years. With a busy fall, and there's a part of you at times that dreams about making your own schedule for a year and what that would feel like. There's obviously a huge competitive hole that needs to be filled, and I understand that'll be a tough transition when that time comes. But I still feel good. I wanted to see how my body felt. 6-8 weeks after the season, and starting to come back. My thumb is still not quite there, all the way, but my body feels pretty good. It's about mentally, emotionally, and spiritually where I'm at in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, and the thumb is a factor. I mean, it's real. We don't like excuses, but it was there for half the season, right?
Well, week 5 on, it was something I was dealing with. So, but I thought it was good. Then I saw my doctor at Cypress. He goes, "Oh, we might need to look at that." I said, "Come on, man, I'm good. I don't want another surgery."
Did you have to do anything at all special, or are you just letting it heal naturally?
Well, we've been just letting it heal naturally, but I might need to take another look at that in the next week.
Okay, so when do you expect to make a decision? In the next 2 weeks?
Well, I mean, free agency is like beginning of March, so I'll definitely have a decision made by then.
Okay, so no breaking news today, though, right?
No, sorry, Ted.
Okay, that's all right. Great to see you, man.
You too, buddy.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
This is awesome. Oh, you cut it off.
No, I didn't.
Oh, I don't hear it. Sorry.
No, that was it.
That was it.
It did sound cut.
Okay, yeah, because at the end I said so no breaking news, and he said something like,
We heard that.
I didn't hear it. It cut off of my headphones. Okay, so
He said if you would have asked him nicer, he would have, but you were rude to him.
Hey, I tried. What can I tell you? He's not going to give me anything, but he gave me a little something, like, okay, right around the start of free agency, he'll have his decision. And I'm sure the Packers will know too by then what they're going to do. So
yeah, end of March shows he's in no hurry.
No. And well, why would he be? It gives you a solid 2 months to do whatever the hell you want to do. And it doesn't matter until then anyway, free agency and then the draft. So, and then, the Packers have to know, obviously, by then what they need to do. So that's fine.
Yeah, I agree with Hector. Apparently, thumbs are overrated in golf.
Well, you don't do this. You don't have to grip the club as hard as you have to grip the ball. As a matter of fact, the way I was taught, when you're gripping a club, you you grip it like it's a bird. And if you grip it too tight, you kill the bird. So you just want to have it nice and soft in there where it doesn't fall out of your hand. Look, you guys, we got our Rodgers haters out there. You can hate them all you want. It's an excuse. I even said it's not an excuse. It's a reality. Yeah. You got a broken thumb for 14 weeks. It counts.
Well, you've had him twice in 6 weeks. It's a good segue into the weekly chat you're going to have with him next year. I'm sure he'll line up.
Oh, yeah, weekly. No, it's not going to. I don't even know where he's going to be next year. My relationship is with him and his Packers guy that they, when I need to get him, they tend to give him to me. But outside of that, if he ends up with the Raiders, I don't deal with the Raiders much, so I have no idea what's going to happen. But for you guys, anything. I'll do my best.
Well, we look forward to LeBron's tonight.
Yeah, right.
I tweeted it out, retweeted it so people could see it. But give us kind of your quick notes on what do you discuss with Josh Allen.
Yeah, well, Josh was more about ripping in a fun way at Rodgers. They've become pretty good friends, both from Northern California. Or Central, whatever you want to call it. And they have a great rapport. And some of the fun that's in this thing at Ted Sobel Sports on Twitter, just click on it. At the beginning, a guy next to me, I told Aaron, I said, you speak to that TV guy first before you come to me, because I don't want to be rushed where that guy's staring at me the whole time. I want to finish up what I need to finish up with you. And he only did 2 interviews outside of the network. So I was one of them, which was nice, there weren't like 50 guys standing around. It was a TV guy from San Francisco who he knew from covering his days at Cal, and then me, and then CBS and the Golf Channel. That was it. So when he finished up, he was finishing up with the other guy. Josh Allen comes walking over, and Aaron grabs him, and you'll hear that fun interaction with each other. Aaron saying, "Hey, this guy deserves more credit because he had to skip the Pro Bowl, like it's a real game because of his ankle, just saying you're soft and all that kind of stuff." And then Josh says, yeah, but Aaron, you stole a lot of strokes on your handicap. It's all bogus and you shouldn't have won this damn thing. So they were going back and forth. And then I got Josh one-on-one as well for about 2 minutes. So all that's in there. And he said, yeah, the guy he stole my trophy and we'll get him. And I asked Josh, do you like anybody in the Super Bowl? He goes, I don't have a dog in the fight. And I asked Aaron, and he says, you know what? He goes, I'm not rooting for a team. I'm rooting for the refs, is what he told me. He goes, don't screw this game up. I'm rooting for the refs. And Pau Gasol, the ex-Laker, told me he's rooting for Philadelphia.
I don't think he's a Hall of Famer.
Who, Pau Gasol?
Yeah.
No, he's not. Okay. But anyway, he's on the edge.
Really?
Yeah, but he's not gonna be a Hall.
That would be the Hall of Very Good.
I only mentioned because somebody was arguing about it on the radio a couple of weeks ago. Ron, where do we finish up for the year here? Are we out of bullets?
Well, I heard you mention something with Matt about what's in store. What is in store for the off season? You and I, we do it differently, but we both do a self-critique of what happened. Now, for you, I know you pivoted a lot this year. That was the emphasis of what you were doing. For me, I have a couple of things that I really have to get into to see if the tide is turning as far as the props in the NFL. And I want to study, obviously, the transfer portal a little bit more to hone in on what makes a good opening power number for me when a team loses 20 guys to the transfer portal and then gains 20 guys for the transfer portal in the college. So there's a couple of homework assignments for me. Tell a little bit more about what your homework assignments are, Chris.
I have somebody lined up to help me for about 6 hours on Friday. I'm going through all 272 games to see why I did not bet those games, how I chose to bet those games, and to see if if the filters that I use for parameters to play or not should be widened or narrowed. And I don't actually know my win-loss record if I had not used teasers and parlays. So I'm curious. I have a feeling that it was a bad year, even though it was a highly profitable year overall. I'm just very curious. I just felt like I fought negative variance in a vicious way, and I just want to see why it felt that way. I'm looking forward to next year. I want to actually just put a bow on this year. I don't care about this year's Super Bowl other than my Super Bowl squares and whatever middles I can line up on Sunday morning. And I just want to look ahead.
Yeah. Are you going to go over every single game you're talking about? Wow. Yeah. How many months is that going to take?
Well, I joked around with my friend and I said, well, 5 minutes a game is 22 hours. Can you do that in one sitting? Because it'd be better than to break it. I don't want to break it up. But we don't need 5 minutes in every game. So, but it'll be an all day project for sure. But
wow.
It has to be done because you have to. I don't do things on Excel. But I do everything manually also so that I can get a flow. And that's one of the reasons why I want to go week by week by week. And I want to chart all these different things. You know, what's my record home and away, favorite underdog, these margins, those margins, teasers, parlays, straight, not straight, days of the week. Did I factor injuries appropriately? Did I leave too many games on the table? That sort of stuff. You have to look at all those because the sample sizes are too small. You have to take advantage of whatever sample size you have.
Yeah, I'm really wondering what this other guy is going to do. Like, what's the approach? How many times is he going to come up with a different question so you can get what you want to get out of every game? He's got to be on top of what your thoughts are too.
I just need help sorting and going game by game because there's a lot of games that I would bet 4 and 5 different ways.
Wow.
That really only count as one win or one loss as far as I'm looking at my side betting. And again, I feel like I should possibly be narrowing my criteria and my filters. I want to see what my record would have been if I narrowed my filters to create more plays.
So you've seen these team sheets. This is a completely blank sheet on July 4th. The outsides are filled out by the time mid-August, end of August. And then this whole thing is filled out at the end of the year. And really for each team, I'm going through. I have my category. Did I bet the over-under? Which side did I take? How many points did I take on each team? How did my power ratings adjust? What were the stats that I keyed on? How did my keys at the bottom of the page, how did they do? That's part of the NFL exit report that, Chris, you and I will do a couple of them together. Ted, you've got one more slated with me as well. I'm really critiquing that so that I know where I was last year, where I needed to go, what did I miss, why did this team fail me, why did this team just fail? And, when we do Baltimore, it's going to be painful in some ways because we were right, but they still messed up.
Right.
And that's what you have to discover is because your results are not necessarily indicative of a failed process or a process that works.
Right.
It's you have a lot of checks and balances to make sure that it all makes sense. And it's really, 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 really easy to just leave it all behind you and kind of chart it and file it away in your head. But it's really important to go back sooner than later and just while it's somewhat fresh in your mind, or as fresh as it's ever going to be, go back and look to see what you could have done differently. Everybody's guy has their accounts that they put stuff into. You can scroll week by week and see what,
Yes.
where some of the bleeding was and where some of the success was. And it's really important to do that now. It really is. Just take, whatever time you can afford, and you're going to glean some insight. Even if you're an idiot, you're going to glean some insight.
Okay, well, this idiot has a question, and it's regarding Baltimore. You mentioned the perfect example. I think from an outsider looking at you guys, what you do, you have to be a little careful that you don't overthink the room on them. You can't expect the Lamar Jackson injury, when it happened, how long it happened for, and all that kind of stuff. I mean, if he plays, maybe we're not even talking about this, right? Maybe.
Well, it's a different conversation for sure. Yes, if he plays the whole season, they probably win the division.
Not even the whole season, just some of those games.
But the problem was that there were flaws in the coaching, in the game management, and the time management,
Right.
even early in the season. Now, I don't want to steal the thunder because we're going to talk about it, and we're going to digest it in the exit report. But there were warning signs for them along the way. And those are the things, because one of the best pieces of advice I think any of us could give to anybody else who's trying to be successful at this is there's no cutting corners. There's just no cutting corners in this. You have to dissect this. And even if you're right, you have to piece it together as to what happened and what didn't happen. So, no, you could pat yourself on the back all you want. I got Seattle right. Nobody else got Seattle right. But you still have to go back and see, why did you do that? How can you apply that to another team? And that's what I'm trying to do. Okay, I got Seattle right, but what value does it have for me moving forward?
I'll tell you what really it will tell you if you have a good process or not. And that is, all the years of betting, I don't know anybody that hasn't come up with their own little systems that they've, whether it be bet percentage. Okay, I'm going to chart the bet percentages, or I'm going to chart Friday night games, or I'm going to chart, one of 100 different things that somebody has done, and they think, okay, I'm going to find this little edge. And what you end up doing is all this little research, and you're seeking to validate what you think is going to be successful. And if you have a great process, what Ron and I are trying to do at the end of the year is not trying to look for stuff that validates what we're doing and pat ourselves on the back. We're trying to look at ways that it could be leaks in the boat, so to speak. Okay, well, what didn't go right here? And why shouldn't I continue doing this and try to be a naysayer to your own process a little bit?
Yeah. You always question yourself and say, what could I have done here? I'm not going to change my process, but I am going to tweak it if there's something that seems to be going consistently the wrong way in terms of this. And it's just so important to look at all the different narratives. You have to look not only at, okay, you can look at hard numbers like sacks. You could look at hard numbers like pass percentage or whatever, but you have to look at other things, scheme changes, personnel changes. What quarterbacks did they face? Did they face 5 quarterbacks who were hurt and they were facing the backup quarterback that particular week? Did they face 14? Were all their losses on Sunday night primetime road games or something like that? You got to piece it all together, because one year doesn't necessarily transfer into the next year.
The only thing that I want to say that I guess we haven't said clearly is, what a really dumb way to spoil a nice Sunday evening by just feeling like you need to belong and you have to have action, and just what a dumb way to lose money needlessly. Just throwing in a bunch of bets that can accumulate into some significant money. Have fun with it. There's no value in there's very little value in anything at this point. So don't feel like you have to, feel compelled to bet.
Yeah,
I think,
absolutely.
Well, Rod, you said you're finding some value more in the props, And, and if you're studying it, you'll find something. But outside of that, if you're just doing it because you think it's the Super Bowl and there's 10,000 ways to make a play, making a few plays, and it's funny money. Just have fun with it.
Yeah, you could get in big trouble, for example, especially people who don't do this very much. Right. If you start taking all these props and there's no check and balance in the props, and all of a sudden you have 5 props where you need this one guy to do really, really well, or
good luck.
this because this other guy, whatever, and all of a sudden you're losing 5 times the money you wanted because this guy didn't do well. So you have to know your check and balances and what you have and where you're top heavy with a player or players. Sometimes even I get into trouble with that, and I know how to do this because I'm running 50, 60, 70 props. And at the end of the day, I said, oh my goodness, I need this guy a little bit more than I wanted to have this guy.
Right.
Hopefully I know all that before kickoff so that I can, mitigate everything. But you don't want to get carried away and all of a sudden have a position that you have a little more risk than you want.
Yeah. So just get down to the bottom line a few minutes before the game when the line drops and it gets to -1 or a pick 'em. Just take Philly, do it small, enjoy the win that I gave you, and we'll leave it there.
We'll keep that in mind.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. You'll forget it as soon as you say goodnight, everybody.
So we're going to be back just in a couple of days for the Hall of Fame game, right? In August?
Oh, jeez. In August.
Do they still run that game?
I don't know.
No, I don't think. No. What? Who? I hope not. But they do. Let's not forget hockey. I hope, right, Chris? If we
we'll get the puck out of here and do that.
Yeah.
When the playoffs start, I got a hockey broadcast a week from Saturday. The Stadium Series game, Washington at Carolina on SportsUSA.live.
Let me know when you have the Wings.
The Wings, are they still in the league?
Stop it. Between you and the Lions and the Wings.
Since Gordy left, I don't know. I have a hard time following him. Hey, great job, boys. A lot of fun.
Thanks for joining. Hope we learned we said something of value.
Have a Super Bowl. Have a super Sunday.
Cheers, everyone.
Later.
Bye.